All right. Well, welcome to Staying Up in an Upside Down World. We normally have been doing these on a Friday, so we thought we would change it up and see what kind of crowd we'd get on a Wednesday. So my name is Michele Matt, and I'm a certified speaking professional and a certified virtual presenter with JER HR Group. But today I want to focus on my role as a daughter, sister, stepmom, nana, aunt, friend, author, business owner, consultant, and mentor. And you'll understand a little bit later of why I focused on my roles. What I'm going to do is give you an opportunity to perhaps feel a little bit unstressed during this time together, because I know that people can easily feel overwhelmed, whether it be at work with your job or at home with your family. And you might even be feeling guilty that you're not doing enough. I'm going to dabble in a new process or new program that I created called Live Up. It's a rejuvenating challenge that I created that has 21 lessons to inspire busy people to create joy and balance in your life. And I want to give you the first of all mindset that no one is perfect. Life isn't perfect. I'm not perfect, but I believe we all have a greater potential of creating balance and joy in our life. I'm using the platform that we're all on a joyride. And in that joyride, you are the driver. You have, or perhaps access, a map. And I'm referring to that as your vision and goals, things that you want to do in your life. You also have a battery. And I'm referring to the amount of energy that you have. Some have more energy than others. I know I can be like the Energizer Bunny, but I also know that at a point I can actually turn it off. And sometimes that energy is positive and sometimes that energy is negative. And we want to explore that a little bit today. We're going to talk about the passengers that you have with you on your joyride. We're going to talk about the compass or your purpose that gives you that sense of accomplishment. We're going to talk about your values, or which is your engine that drives you. And then at the end, we want to talk about your owner's manual. This is something that you can intentionally create and use to set up productive routines. The Live Up Challenge I created has 6 different parts. And we're going to talk about little nuggets from each of those parts. The first part is to start up, having a plan. The second part is to clear up any negativity that might prevent you or challenge your plan. You need to learn how to speak up. Clearly, you're defining what you expect of others to help you. Change up. You might have some habits, or you might be doing some things that are preventing you from creating joy and balance in your life. And then as a result of the change up, you need to set up new routines, intentionally done to help you achieve your goals. And then finally, we're going to talk about how it's important to have some type of follow-up system that can guide you and keep you on that joyride. So let's get started. And feel free to chime in with the chat if you want to ask any questions, or I might ask you to chime in. Brenda is going to be my passenger on today's webinar, and she's monitoring any questions or comments in the chat. So the first part is to start up, which makes your plan of creating balance and joy in your life. So as we mentioned, we're going to talk first of all about you. You are the driver. Hal Elrod said that you are where you are because who you were. But where you go depends on who you choose to be. And I truly believe that this represents an intersection of our life's journey. We come together for a moment in time for a reason, and I want to help you explore where you've been and where you want to go in the future. I refer to significant emotional events. Wayne Dyer did a lot of work in the whole psychology of our life. And I want you to use this definition of those moments in your past that have defined or refined us. It could be both a positive or it could be a negative experience. It could be something that just happened to you. I know the pandemic was something that we had no control over, and it was and will forever be a significant emotional event in our lives. Or it could be something that you chose to do, such as getting married or having a child. It could be a single moment in time, like an accident. A car accident is definitely a significant emotional event. Or it could be something that happened over a length of time, like the 2 years that we experienced the pandemic. It tends to alter or shape our future. So I have listed here through my past work a variety of different significant emotional events. And as I've gone through my joyride, I've learned to overcome them. Most importantly, I've learned how to gain or learn something from them. So in the challenge, I have people think about what have you gained from those significant emotional events. So many times people get stuck in the past because they are focused on the loss. And I know we can't change our past, but we can learn from it. For instance, here are 5 of my top significant emotional events and what I've actually learned or gained from it. I was actually in high school bullied by some girlfriends. And what I learned is to take criticism. And I really, through that journey, have found and still enjoy some long-term true friends. The second was my layoff. It happened in 1991, and it was devastating to my career. But as a result, I started my own business, Inspiring Solutions. And as a result, that redirected my career, and I gained some newfound independence. A third significant emotional event was that I experienced not 1, but 2 divorces. When I went through counseling as a result of the second, I told my counselor that my picker-outer is broken. I needed to find why I was making such bad mistakes. And so one of the first things she helped me do was to find myself and not lose myself in a relationship. And obviously fix my picker-outer. I'm now in a wonderful relationship, one that I truly feel is congruent with who I am. I am honoring and respecting and honoring who he is. The fourth was, or significant emotional event, that I was a stepmom of 2 children. I'm no longer with their father, but luckily I still have them in my life. And I've learned that that really is important. I really need to have and love having children and family in my life, and they truly are most important. And then the last is that I said just yesterday to a friend who lost a dear friend, we oftentimes learn the most about life through death. I've lost in 14 months my parents, previous spouse, and his mother. And I think through those difficult times, it was 2014 and 2015, I learned through patience and empathy. And I've learned that it's not the stuff that matters, it's the memories that you create. So that gives you an idea of the driver, you. Now we want to take a look at the map or the vision and the goals that you have in your joyride, because life is like balancing plates up on top of a stick. You might see that happening, and as you're putting that last plate, you usually have to run over to the first and get that up running solid. Well, that's how we feel when we spend too much time at work, or we spend too much time in a particular dimension. I've seen where parents leave a job because after the birth of a child, they want to truly dedicate their role as a parent. Nothing wrong with that, but we've got to learn how to strike a balance. There's a great book if you're wanting to learn how to strike a balance. It's written by Tom Rath and Jim Harder, called Well-Being. And they identify 5 essential elements in life to help you feel balance. And I'm going to talk through each of them, and I'm even going to add one more. So the first area is well-being, is career. How you occupy your time and simply like what you do every day. I am lucky that I have found a career that I really can relate to. I love helping others. And I'll share with you my purpose statement that helps with my career. The second dimension is your social well-being, having a strong relationship and love in your life. I am blessed with a wonderful family. I've worked through it. I have a brother, and through the pandemic, we grew much closer than before the pandemic. In fact, looking forward to spending the holiday time with him and his family. The third is the financial well-being. You've got to dedicate time to effectively manage your economic life and decisions, especially when the stock market is in so much disarray. For those of you who maybe came on later after we started, I recently sold some real estate, and I have learned that I need to diversify my portfolio. I can't and won't put all of my money in the stock market. And so I have a couple of investment properties that help balance my financial well-being. The fourth is my physical, or your physical well-being. And that is having good health and enough energy to get things done on a regular basis. I am willing to say that I don't work out at a gym, but I'm willing to work in certain intentional behavior. One is that I park further away from the front door. I don't try to get parking up close. There's more parking spaces away from the grocery store. And then by doing so, I get more steps, or I'm willing to take the stairs instead of the elevator. So again, find ways of incorporating your activities for your own physical well-being. And then the last is community well-being, a sense of engagement that you have with the area in which you live. I've been involved with a number of professional associations through the years. ATD, the Association for Talent Development. I'm involved with our local Chamber of Commerce, but more recently, I'm going through the training of American Red Cross. My significant other, Greg, has a property in Fort Myers Beach that was devastated with the hurricane recently. And so we want to reach out and be a first responder, not only for that area, but for any area. Those are the 5 from the well-being book, but I'm going to add a 6th that I believe is important, and that is your spatial well-being. What I mean by that is your ability to minimize clutter and maintain organization. Feng Shui is an Eastern measure of energy. And I find that if my brain is cluttered, if my space around me is cluttered, I can't be focused. And I think that's really important for your own well-being. Jana Kingsford said that balance is not something that you find, it's something that you create. And that was really significant when I was writing this Live Up Challenge. I thought that I needed to help people find balance. Well, that means that you're waiting for something or someone to give it to you. And with this mindset, it really helps me to think about taking control of my joyride. So I need to create an environment in which I feel joy and I create balance in my life. This is an example. Each year, I always have some type of mindset. And this particular poster is in my kitchen. And this past year, I set out 2022 with the theme of reset. After the pandemic, everything seemed to be rejuvenate, refocus. And I did that during the pandemic, but I really wanted to come out of the pandemic strong. And so my word was reset. And I did several things in the area of career to find new revenue streams. In my relationships, I wanted to refocus on my family, my friends. Murphy, my dog, is even in here because we lost a yellow lab. And if anyone knows, when you have a pet in the household, they definitely, when you say goodbye to them, they definitely deplete your energy. And then finally, the financial. So the whole notion of resetting my thought. And I turned 60. If you can read that, I still wanted to feel sexy at 60. Part 2 is to clear up, removing and replacing negative thoughts to create balance and joy in your life. And again, looking at your joyride, in this unit, we're going to talk about your battery. What kind of energy, positive or negative, are you fueled by, if you will? Your joyride battery is how much energy you hold. And I will say that I think I have quite a large battery per se. I can say that I'm quite a positive person. I try to exert my energy in positive ways. I have, I think, a gift of helping turn lemons into lemonade. However, I also know that there are factors that can drain myself and yourself in your life, and you need to be aware of who or what those negative influences are. Your mind is a powerful thing. When you fill it with positive thoughts, your life will start to change. Back in 1995, I wrote a book called Attitude, The Choice is Yours. And it continues to be a bestseller. I sell it out on Amazon. You can go out to the JER Group webinar or website. Also, as a part of participating in this webinar today, we will give you a special. I always like, especially in November, to give you a special, buy one for yourself and buy one for a gift. And what I want to do is today give you some of the tune-up techniques that I wrote about. And the first one is to listen to your self-talk. The way that I practice or put that into place is to learn how to practice replacing any negative thoughts that come to mind with a more positive thought. For instance, many of you probably are familiar with a children's classic, The Little Engine That Could. This was my dad and I after he had open heart surgery. And he went into a major depression. He was up at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. And after 5 days after the surgery, he was supposed to be going through therapy. And the nurses were saying that he wasn't responding to therapy. My mom was very frustrated because he wasn't and willing to listen to her. So I drove up. I was there during the surgery, but then afterwards I went back home. But I drove back up and I pulled out that book and I read every page to him. And if you know the story, it's this engine who's trying to go up over the hills to deliver the toys to the children on the other side of the mountain. And she kept chanting over and over again, "I think I can, I think I can." And that's where I needed to meet Dad. Dad, I think you can. I know you can get up and walk. I know you can do those breathing exercises. And eventually he did. And afterwards we talked about that, but you need to know how to help others, help yourself believe in the power of positivity. So another example is when I applied the spatial well-being exercise in the Live Up, I had to set a goal. And the goal was to clean out and organize the shop area in the garage before Mother's Day. And what that can sound like is a lot of excuses. I don't have time. Well, take that and change that to something more positive. I will make time over the weekend. You know, easy enough. You got a Saturday or a Sunday. Cleaning out a garage is a dirty job. I don't want to do that. Well, guess what? If you do that, it's going to be clean and orderly afterwards, which is going to give you that sense of accomplishment. And I can oftentimes feel like there's some things in that garage that were too large for me to do. I can't do it. So I'm going to ask Greg to help me. So that's a quick example of how to listen to your self-talk. Another tune-up is to pursue happiness. This is an example of what I do to help me find happiness each and every day. The happiest people don't have the best of everything. They make the best of everything. This is a picture of a quote from a fortune cookie that I actually have taped in my office. And many of you, I'm curious to know if you bought a lottery ticket this week. I will admit to doing it. Brenda said that she doesn't, and I don't disagree that it's probably going to add more misery to the person or anyone who wins the lottery. But I find that people wait for something to bring them happiness. That lottery win will not give you happiness. You've got to find happiness on your own. Having a fancy house, a nice car, or the perfect look is a short-term fix. You've got to learn how to make even the difficult days joyful. Nightbird was a contestant on America's Got Talent. And if you watched her story, she got the golden buzzer from Simon. And unfortunately, she was battling with cancer and didn't get to appear on the final show. But Simon asked her, what do you do to get through your days? And she just knows that she's got to find happiness in even the darkest and most difficult of situations. Steve Maraboli said that if you want to find happiness, find gratitude. November is the month of gratitude because it's Thanksgiving. We should find and at least recognize that each day has good things. So practice by finding 5 good things. Maybe it's the weather, maybe it's your family, maybe it's your job, but learn to practice it every day. This is a picture of a girlfriend and I out on Fort Myers Beach. And what started out to be a very beautiful day ended up being a torrential rain shower. You may not be able to hear that, but we took a picture of us raining and laughing. This is a picture of my 102-year-old cousin Jeanette, who lived alone in St. Louis. And this was a picture of her talking to me. Her caregiver took a picture of that, and it just warmed my heart. And I thought, you know what? For 10 minutes of my life, why couldn't I make it a priority to share joy with Jeanette? Another tune-up, speaking of relationships, is to learn how to value relationships. We need people in life. Although there's days that we can't live with, but we can't live without them. Why? Well, it's because we're different. No 2 people are exactly alike. A great relationship is about 2 things. First, appreciating the things that you have in common, what brings you together. Maybe it's your common interests, your hobbies, maybe it's your lifestyle. And then secondly, knowing and respecting the differences. You know, Greg and I are similar in our interests, but we are also very different. He's much more methodical. I tend to be a little more spontaneous. And for that, we appreciate those differences. You've heard the golden rule, treat others as they would like to be treated. So treat them with respect. If you show respect, you'll receive respect. Learn how to forgive and forget. Sometimes people hang on to baggage for a long time. And if you continue to hold grudges, it will prevent you from living a life of peace. Communicate your expectations. We're going to talk about that in the next part, where you need to speak up what you expect of others. And then finally, learn how to give and accept responsibility, whether it be at home with chores, or if you're a leader or a manager at work, you've got to learn how to hold yourself and others accountable. So the last tune-up technique I want to share with you from my book is to stop shoulding yourself. Now, I usually get looks like I said something nasty, but stop shoulding yourself sounds like this. How many times in a day does a voice go off and say, oh, Michelle, you really should do this, or you really should do that? Well, recognize this. Guilt is the thief of life. Anthony Hopkins believes this, and I say it, that no amount of guilt can change the past, and no amount of worrying can change the future. Simply put, you can never should have done anything. You've either done it or you haven't. But what you can do is learn how to transfer it to a to-do. You have 3 options with guilt, something that's on your mind. You can continue to worry about it. Oh man, I really should have backed up my computer. It wouldn't have been so bad when it crashed. Or you can pretend that it did or didn't happen. You know, the accident, or maybe you said something that you wished you wouldn't have said. Or you can own it and move on. I think one of the things that's a way that you can do it is to forget about it. Forget that. Maybe it was, I'm trying to think of something that recently happened to me. Oh, I know what it was. Over this past weekend, Greg and I were in the midst of cleaning out the house. And there was a part of the renovation that I made a decision to do differently. And as a result, it cost us one of the first interested buyers. And as a result, it was something that could have done and been done sooner. But I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go over that over and over again. We found a wonderful buyer. Take action if it's important. Yesterday, I wrote a sympathy card, sent a sympathy card off to a client who had to say goodbye to her mother. And I know how difficult that was and is for her. And now she needs to start her healing. So you can practice your should do's by turning them into simple to do's. How many of you have ever said to somebody, oh, we should do lunch? Well, I'm going to do lunch with a girlfriend today. And it's something that we had scheduled about a week ago. And sometimes you can't do it right away. But if you take action, pull out your calendar and set a date. Another one is to exercise. How many of you say, I really should exercise? Well, turn it into a set a date and a time. Do it first thing in the morning, or maybe you do it at the end of the day. Take your dog for a walk. I can't say the word because Murphy is listening in. You should thank someone. Well, mail a card or send an email or send a text. And maybe you should apologize for saying or doing something that hurt someone's feeling. Embrace it and with a phone call, or even have a heart-to-heart meeting. This is an example of a woman who was a significant influence in my early life. Mrs. Wildman was my second grade teacher, and she also was a good friend of my parents. And one time when I went back home, I brought her a gift. It actually was something that was my mom's, and I said to her how influential she was in my early years. So do those people that have influenced you know just how important they are to you. Don't wait for a better time to say and do the things that you appreciate. Part 3 is to speak up. In this part, we explore how to express your needs and expectations of others to create balance and joy in your life. Again, with this joy ride, this is the part where you're going to need to look at your core values. In other words, what makes you tick? You are where you are because of your past. And I have done a lot of work through the years to kind of understand that. And we use the DISC model of behavior. And if you're interested, again, go out to our website, or I'd be happy to talk with you afterwards to talk about how we help our clients, are those people that we coach, understand themselves by using an assessment that measures your dominance, your influence, your steadiness, and your conscientiousness. And by doing so through the years, I've learned that I am creative, I'm outgoing, I'm direct, I'm also a risk taker, but I also have a high level of awareness, and maybe that's my emotional intelligence. What I've learned that I value about myself and others in a relationship is honesty, being authentic or genuine. I must have trust in a relationship in order to resolve conflict. I like a sense of adventure, which could be travel, but it also is learning new things. And the other resource that I encourage in this Live Up Challenge is the 5 love languages. Gary Chapman wrote a book, several books. I would encourage you to go out. You can actually take a test. There's no cost to it. And it will identify what love language you prefer to receive as well as give to others. Love from the standpoint of you in a personal relationship, but also love from a professional standpoint. The 5 love language include acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, and receiving gifts. I know from my failed marriages, if I would have done, and if we both would have done this assessment, I think we would have had a different relationship. These are some of the books that Gary has written. And as I mentioned, it's not only for you, but you can use it with your children, teenagers, and even if you're not in a significant relationship. Huey Lewis and the News talks about the power of love, and love is the most important word in the English language. It can be the most confusing. In the book, Gary talks about our love tank and how much are you able to hold? How much do you feel? What empties your tank? And in what way do you perhaps need to check in with how full your emotional tank is? We easily say we love baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie, the American dream. But why can't we as human beings say the words, I love you, or that you are willing to say, I love myself? The real joy in life comes when you find your true purpose and align it with what you do every single day. The words from Tony Robbins. So one way to do that through the joy ride is to create your purpose statement. The meaning of life is to find your gift. You know, Pablo Picasso found his in art. The purpose of life then is to give it away. So the application that we take you through is to clarify your roles and set your goals in those roles. As I started off our webinar, I talked about the roles that I have, not only in my professional life, but also in my personal life. I'd encourage you to think about what it is that gives you joy. These are my purpose statements. First is that I'm a happy and healthy person, because I've learned through my significant emotional life events, if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of other people, and that's important to me. In my personal life, I'm committed to being a loving, caring, patient daughter, sister, stepmom, nana, relative, and friend. And then the third guides my career, and that is I'm simply an honest and trustworthy professional. As I think about my craft, I really strive in all that I do, whether I'm doing a webinar, whether I'm doing an on-site workshop or speaking at a conference, or I'm coaching someone. My work purpose is to inspire people with practical solutions for positive change. And I hope I'm doing that with you today. I believe you can do anything, but not everything. There are limits. So what you need to find out is how the passengers in your joyride can help you. And the way you do that is to, first of all, identify who are your passengers, who's sitting in your front seat, who perhaps do you rely on as perhaps a navigator to guide you. Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's a friend or a mentor, and who's in the back seat. Who do you feel that you are bringing along with you on your joyride? It could be your team at work, it could be your family or your friends. And one of the exercises that we do is have you to identify who are the people that energize you and who are the people that drain or strain you. You can see my examples there. We also have you take a look at the activities that energize you and what are the activities that drain or strain you. And again, you can see my examples, and I'm really trying to live a life that is congruent with that, and spending more time and energy with people and activities that energize, not drain or strain me. Are you feeling a bit overwhelmed at work or at home? Well, you might not be asking for help. There's several reasons why we might not ask for help. We don't want the other person to think that they're stupid or that they don't know the answer, or that you're incapable of doing something, or that you're unaware of a particular need. However, another most common reason is that we assume we know what the circumstance is or what they're going to do. And oftentimes the easiest way to think about a question is the only stupid question is the one that you didn't ask when you could get the answer. Maybe you're in a meeting, or maybe you're on a phone call, or maybe you're talking to somebody. Why not ignore the opportunity to ask? What happens when we don't ask? We make mistakes. We waste time and even money. We do extra work, or we don't meet expectations. Asking questions doesn't mean that you don't know your job. Asking questions mean you want to improve the quality of your work. It's working smarter, not harder. I always like to remember to use the 5 W's and the H, the who, the what, the when, the where, and the ultimate why that kids ask us to learn. People can't live up to your expectations if they don't know what's been set for them. I give the example that my stepson, Chad, when he was 16, asked to go out by his father to rake the yard. And he said to Dad, "Hey, I want you to come out and show me what you want me to do, because I don't want to go out and do what I think is good enough, only to find out that it's not." And I commended him, because how many times do we do what we think is a good job, only to find out that it wasn't? Well, the way that you do that is to learn how to empower and not enable other people. For instance, how many of you are parents? Your role as a parent is to raise adults, not children. Boy, that's profound. I wished I would have known that when I was raising stepchildren, because I think it's really important to keep them learning new skills, like doing the laundry or taking responsibilities for their own belongings. It is not what you do for your children, but what you have taught them to do for themselves that will make them successful human beings. Ann Landers. Great philosophy. We did this type of chart every Sunday night with the kids. We had a family meeting on Sunday night, and we basically went through the days ahead to identify what was coming up, what activities, what priorities, what projects, and how we needed to all support each other. We posted it on the refrigerator as a reminder of our commitment to work together as a family team. Now, on the professional side, if you're a leader, your role is to simply inspire people to do the right thing right. And again, that's helping them to work efficiently and effectively. And the way you do that is to make sure that you tell them what you expect. Because if you never tell your people what you expect, then you're going to expect to be disappointed. Some consequences of enabling or not holding people accountable adds to your obligations and stress. It doesn't build their confidence or their skills and accountability. And therefore, if you don't delegate, oftentimes you do it because it's quicker to do it yourself, or you think that it won't be done right, or you won't delegate because it takes longer to explain or teach them, or you kind of sell yourself that they're too busy, they wouldn't have time to do it. Or in some cases, we don't delegate because we enjoy doing it. I always say to parents and to leaders, unless you don't ever want to get away or break away from the job or from the kids and trust others to do what you expect, you better learn how to delegate. Because leaders that become great, not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Part 4 is to change up. Changing bad habits or behaviors to create balance and joy in your life. Einstein had this definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting different results. In my book, another tune-up technique I write about is to seek comfort with change. Doesn't that sound like an oxymoron, putting 2 words in the same sentence? Because we often don't find comfort when we encounter change. Change is like entering a body of water. You can go in from the shallow end. It's kind of a painful experience. Or you can just plunge in like we did with the pandemic. It was definitely a shock. Your reaction could have been from wow to pow. However, regardless, in a period of time, Kubler-Ross uses this as the curve of indicating how we first go through some time of shock or denial that it's happening. Then we feel anger. We start to bargain or reason or rationale. Sometimes we go into a slump, or depression because of the reality of the change not going away until we can finally accept it and move on. You have three choices with change. You can change the situation. You can move. If you don't like your neighbor, you can quit a job. You don't like who you're working with. You could try to change the person. I have several suggestions for helping to influence them by coaching or motivating them, but that's hard to do because they make the ultimate choice themselves. Or the one that you can most easily change is your attitude about the situation or the other person. I like to have you think about change in a different way. Sometimes change gets a bad rap. Think of it as a creative disruption, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The pandemic brought a lot of creative solutions or silver linings, if you will. I've oftentimes thought about change as an opportunity to learn. I've learned that change is inevitable. It's good. It gives us growth. And even though it may seem unsurmountable at the time, I can survive with patience and persistence. And when I learn how to let it go and not try to control it, I learn how to regain other things. This is an example of one of our participants in the Live Up Challenge. She tackled the spatial well-being through the Tidy Up Challenge. This was the space before. How many of you can relate to a closet or a room that could use some tidying up? And this was her afterwards. So again, learning how to gain control of your environment. Many of you might use the Serenity Prayer, where you find that you can find acceptance when you can't change, courage to change the things that you can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, the last is the intentional routines created in your owner's manual. In fact, I'm really kind of thinking about creating some kind of tool that can use to guide you in your joyride. Andy Andrews said that intention without action is an insult to those who expect the best from you. Who are those people? Are they your coworkers? Are they your team? Are they your parents? Are they your family? Are they your friend? So I want you to think about being intentional, which means doing things on purpose for a purpose. You've heard of the use of the word intentional in basketball, where a team will intentionally foul someone to call a timeout. A baseball team will intentionally walk a batter in fear that they might hit a home run. John Maxwell said that when you're intentional, you can add value to everything you do and to every person you meet. You can live an intentional life. So here's some examples. I have you think about routines that you do every day. You probably bathe, eat, and get the mail. Every week, you work so many days a week, so many hours in the day. Take out the trash. Thursday night, I got to take out the trash. I need to wash and actually clean out the inside of the car. Every month, you hopefully have a system of paying bills. At the first of the month, I check my filter and my furnace. I get my nails done. It's a treat. And then every year, celebrating birthdays or anniversaries, changing your battery on daylight saving times, and getting ready to prepare your taxes. Again, another quote from John Maxwell's book, Intentional Living. An unintentional life accepts everything and does nothing. An intentional life embraces only the things that will add to the mission of significance. And in order to live a significant life, you need to learn how to break bad habits. Another good read is by Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he gives the definition of habit as a routine or behavior that is performed regularly and in many cases automatically. If you can't change your habits, it's not you. The problem is your system. And I'm big into systems because it prevents you from having to always make new decisions. Habits are like the atoms of our lives. We do things automatically. Each may seem insignificant, but collectively they contribute to your overall routine and outcome. There are two types. There are outcome-based, which tend to be more externally motivated, goal-oriented, focus on what you want. And there are those that are identity or internally motivated. Those tend to be more value-driven and focus on who you want to become. Some examples of my habits is that I am quite disciplined as a business owner to work Monday through Friday. I set ambitious goals for myself, both personally and professionally, and I'm willing to share advice when asked. My identity-based habits I tend to be attentive to relatives. I do want to be the best possible sister, relative, and friend. I do think that I'm loyal. I may not be one that spends a lot of time frequently, but we spend quality time together. And I believe I'm a kind person. I truly believe in the goodness of others. I realize we're running shy on time, but everyone has a significant emotional event. And 2006 was one of those years, both professionally and personally. I very quickly was to become the national president of a professional association, but it was also the time that my mom was coming down with early signs of dementia. And so I refused that opportunity and refocused the next 8 years of my life to be the best possible daughter I could for my parents. Changing your thoughts and behavior changes your identity. So if you think about what you want to do, how you want other people in the role that you have to think of you, you are going to do those things that will live up to your expectations. However, if you don't make intentional changes, unfortunately, bad habits will lead to bad outcomes. Jenny Craig said, a change in bad habits leads to a change in life. And so finally, you need to make sure that you set up new and better routines to create that balance and joy in your life. Every action that you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. For instance, he's asked, how long does it take to build a new habit? You know, you may have heard that it's 21 to 30 days. Well, he said it doesn't matter. What matters is the rate you perform the behavior. New habits require practice and repetition frequently. So again, it's not how often or how well or how much you change. Or I'm sorry, it's not how well or how much, it's how often you change. So what that means is practice. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. How do you eat an elephant? One step at a time, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time. In fact, I believe in the power of one. One smile can start a friendship. One word can end a fight. One look could save a relationship. One person can change your life. Ken Carter said, if you improve by 1% a day, then in 100 days, guess what? You're going to be 100% better. I believe in the power of 1 minute. What could you do in 1 minute that could change the outcome? Zig Ziglar said, repetition is the mother of learning, the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. For instance, one bad habit that I have is I have a hard time remembering a person's name, but in 1 minute while I'm listening, I can spell it over in my mind, or I can write it on a piece of paper. Another bad habit that I oftentimes do things last minute. Well, I can take that 1 minute and leave earlier or start earlier. And another struggle that we all oftentimes have is technology. I could take 1 minute and do a search in the technology to learn a new feature. Other 1 minute actions that you could continue to think about are what not only in your work, but in your personal life. And I encourage you to think about which one of these could you do on an intentional basis for a better outcome. One is to think about in the start of your day, what 3 things must you do? Take a minute to do that before you start your day. And at the end, share maybe with your dinner, at the dinner table, what 3 positive things did you enjoy today? Share it with your significant other or with your children. So what can you do in 1 minute? Because knowledge is of no value unless you put it into practice. To create balance and joy that I've challenged you with today, you've got to practice and persevere. What a difference a year can make. My grandson over on the right-hand side, practice and loves track. And with practice and perseverance, his relay team made it to state and was 13th in the overall state of Iowa. Practice takes practice. I'm practicing joy by using the word joy in more conversations. You know how you say, have a good day? Well, I've been saying, enjoy your day as my closing. Even in my salutation, in my email, I have create joy in your life. Practice carving out time for joy, for yourself, with your family, with your friends, with your financial. And the last is to follow up. I leave you thinking about in what ways are you going to put in place what I've shared with you today to create balance and joy in your life, because you're either going to follow up or you fold up. To create balance and joy in your life does take practice and perseverance. To persevere means to continue a course of action, even in the face of difficulty or with little or no prospect of success. And you know yourself better than anyone else. What causes you to give up? Maybe it's the distractions. Maybe it's you don't have accountability, or maybe you're not motivated. So that's why I feel that to have an effective follow-up system is the key to an effective coaching process, which will lead to significant behavioral changes. True success is in the follow-up. So any way that we can help you through training could be a difficult situation, but through persistence and practice, we can help you to master the art. Life is a game. And living up to your potential starts with awareness. And today we gave you some awareness and we want to help you, guide you through that. So let's connect up. Sign up if you are interested in our next challenge. I think it's going to probably start in January. We'll also follow up with an email if you would like, if you're interested in the book or anything else. Say yes if you want to send me a text message. But otherwise, I thank you for participating in our webinar and truly live up and stay up in an upside down world. And I'll stay on if you'd like. We can actually